All right. Here we are. We are on. I'm trying to get this mic set up. I'm slowly getting more and more comfortable with the setup. Charlie, how you doing? How is the Netherlands, my friend? All right. Everyone is coming in. We'll give everyone a few moments. Sashar Navar has joined. Thank you very much. And we'll see who is all rolling in today. I guess I'm having an okay hair day. And plenty to talk about, plenty to do. However, I don't know if you guys are battling the sensory overload of just so much stuff that I'm dealing with, where I'm trying to pick and choose my battles, but also be enough informed so that, I guess, be enough informed that so I can at least have a laugh and a chuckle, because we certainly don't need to have an opinion about everything. We certainly don't need to engage with everything, because we have our own lives to lead. And if you've been watching this show, you know that the art of charm, and me especially, I want you to focus on you, because a better you makes the world go better. All right. So Drew over in YouTube land, hello to you, buddy. I hope you're doing well as well. We got Hippie in the Hills popped in. Chris Duffin has joined. Hello, Chris. I hope you're doing well. Lee Ken, how you doing? Hi, can you talk? One Life has already asked me a question. We'll get there in a minute. So one of the things, I'll get to you, One Life, in 1 second. If you were watching this from YouTube or Periscope, shoot me a message, a comment. That's how I know that you guys are there, because I'm restreaming this, and the interface is restreamed, so I don't see much else, except if you're on Insta, you're on my phone, so you guys can give me hearts. You guys can comment there. I see everything. However, but if you're watching from Periscope or YouTube, shoot me a comment. Let me know you're there. Also, if you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Give me a like. Shoot me a comment. These small engagements show YouTube that you like our stuff and you engage with it. And guess what? It helps other people find the show. All right. So a lot of things I wanted to discuss today. One Life asks, hi, can you talk on dyslexia, please? I'm 40 and still don't know my talents to find a job I'll be good at. Any tips? Well, I make it a point I'm not speaking about things that I'm not well versed in. Dyslexia is one of those things that I'm not very versed in. However, my sister seems to have had to deal with it when she was younger, and I don't know how much she still fights with it today. But, I would certainly look to do some research on this subject. It certainly isn't the end of the world, and there are many people with learning disabilities who have found a way to engage with learning that makes them able to engage and absorb and be creative more so than the average bear. It's like, if you understand what you're working with, then you can compensate for it. So as I said, I don't know much about dyslexia. I know that there's multiple different kinds of dyslexia. I know it's also on a spectrum of functional or to really bad. So learn about it and see what they have to say about it, and try to find a way to learn that is best suited for what you have going on. Von Schwab is joining us. Welcome. It's good to see you. Rachel Clock has joined, and thank you very much as well. Eric over in Periscope land has joined in. Vaughn says, they said I had a learning disability, but I'm one semester away from graduating with an engineering degree. Well, there you go. And I will also mention this. I don't know One Life. If you're familiar with Brett or Eric Weinstein, both of them have, they both have podcasts, Eric with The Portal and Dark Horse with Brett. I enjoy both of their podcasts. Both of them have talked at great length about the learning disabilities that they had growing up and overcoming them using other methods of learning to compensate and to use their disability as an advantage rather than it being something that would hinder them. I wish I knew more about the subject to be able to speak about it, but to be honest, I don't. And as I said, I don't like to speak about things that I'm not well versed in. I make a fool of myself on this show regularly as it is, let alone to speak about stuff that I'm not well versed in. So One Life says, thank you. Yes, one of people have it. All I hear is that most people with dyslexia don't know. Yeah, there's ways around it. I would do some research. You could probably even be learning better for it, as I mentioned about Eric and Brett Weinstein. So a couple of things I wanted to talk about today. I'm going to try to speak about the protest today from my simple point of view. As you guys know, I am not somebody who supports going out in the streets and destroying things. And I, as a creator and somebody who builds, I tend to look at people who are looking to destroy things from a negative lens. Now, we can get into the semantics and all of that. That's not what I'm here for. I don't like to speak about politics on that side. I try to stay nonpartisan, but if you watch the show enough, you can understand how I feel about things. Here's what I do want to talk about, though, and I actually found something with and Chris Duffin. Don't you live in Portland, my friend, or at least well-versed? Are you still in Portland? So this has to do with Ted Wheeler, and I was laughing because I had finally agreed with the protesters that they went to occupy Ted Wheeler's condo, his lobby. Now, they destroyed it. They messed it up. They tried to catch it on fire. I don't agree with any of those things. However, I agree with the protesters in occupying Ted Wheeler's because I don't think some of these governors and mayors understand that the protesters, from what I can tell, they're not on your side, Ted Wheeler, and for the rest of the people that go along with this. In fact, Ted Wheeler should know better. He went with the protesters downtown to Portland and had garbage thrown at him. Yet he still makes ploys and compensations and pleas to the protesters. And Ted, how are you not getting it? And here's why I loved that they occupied his apartment building. They threw a metal concert outside in the street for Ted, and I couldn't stop laughing. I saw the video footage of this today on Twitter. Now, here's another bit of this that I love and I find quite hilarious. As somebody who is a music fan who has spent a great portion of their lives, all of my life, with one foot in the music industry, playing, performing, managing clubs, COVID has taken out one of my main social activities, which is going to see live music, supporting my friends who are creating and playing live music, supporting the people who have invested time and money to putting together music venues so that the creative juices of a community can find a place to showcase the art that they so carefully crafted and have spent time creating. And so there hasn't, well, for the most part, there hasn't been really any. In fact, the music industry, the venues themselves are all dying. This piece of my American freedom of speech, creativity, performing arts, socialization has been taken away from me. And as much as I do not condone a lot of the protesting as it has gotten destructive, and I support productive and constructive activities. The fact that they put on a metal concert outside of Ted Wheeler's condo, I find that utterly hilarious. In fact, rather than setting the lobby on fire, which I do not condone, they should have put the metal concert and festival in the lobby. Now that would have been hilarious. And I cannot stop giggling about this morning. So Phantom Alpha over in YouTube. Hello, buddy. Thanks for tuning in. He says, Ted Wheeler blames Trump for everything and takes no accountability for his lack of action. Well, yeah, I have saw that. And I found his press conference comedic at best. In fact, have you guys noticed that comedy has taken a hit where a lot of people don't feel comfortable in poking fun at a lot of things because of the backlash that they're going to take? Here's the joke on everybody. The joke on everybody is that people like Ted, who's trying to pass the buck on a lot of the issues that are going on in Portland, turns out to be one of the best comedic stand-up performances that I have seen in quite some time. So on that point, I can't stop laughing. Free Candy, welcome. It is good to see you. Spark of Sass has joined. Good to see you as well. So Phantom Alpha over in YouTube, I have to admit, and so much like George Carlin mentioned that he was done with the human race and that he was going to detach himself and watch the Big Show. I'm trying to do that. Unfortunately, the Big Show is happening on all sides, and it is a little bit, it can be sensory overload at times. Luckily, I have made my way to Vegas where it's a little bit more quieter than Los Angeles. Drew says this is the worst part, no humor, primarily on the very far left. Well, humor tends to dissipate and leave anytime you roll into either extremes. But yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Drew. Eric says performance comedy. He's asking, are you asking a question, Eric? I found Ted Wheeler's press conference a stand-up comedy act. How can you take somebody, first of all, the first rule in self-development, and this is why I'm having such a difficult time with a lot of the ideas that are being thrown around and a lot of the performative aspects to our election series that is going on. And here you go. The very first rule in self-development is that if you want any control over what is going on, then you first must be willing to take responsibility for the position that you're in. If you do not take any responsibility for that, then you cannot flip the switch to give you opportunity to make changes. So if Ted Wheeler is going to have a press conference, he's going to point the finger left, right, up, down. Well, guess what? It makes it incredibly difficult to make any changes. In fact, it works in several ways. Number one, when I have people in my life who refuse to take responsibility for their situation, then I immediately cannot take their complaints seriously because they're not serious about the problem. If Ted was serious about any sort of issues that were going on in his city, then he would take responsibility. This is beyond politics. This is basic fundamentals in self-development. The minute you are serious about what is going on is the minute you take responsibility for it. Drew says, well, when left-leaning comedians don't want to perform on college campuses, they have not wanted to perform on campuses for years, at least for close to, if not this election period of 4 years, at least 5. Absolutely, Drew. It is quite telling. So Phantom says that Ted is so detached from reality. It's really bizarre. Here's the thing. Phantom, Drew, you guys over in YouTube Periscope land and my friends on Insta, it is incredibly difficult not to go to bed and try to piece together and connect a lot of dots to give you some understanding of what is going on. And what I keep coming up with, and this is the thing that gives me hope and allows me to be the optimist, tempered by my cynicism, that to allow myself to go to bed easily, is there is a lot of detachment from any sort of reality. The rules that I use to engage in life are rules set up in science of self-development. When I do not see other people engage in those rules, I have to ask myself, well, how serious can they actually be? The rules that we're discussing, how about the one I just gave you? If you're serious about the issues in your life, you will first need to take responsibility to have any control over how you'll handle it. This is not rocket science. This is nothing new. From Tony Robbins to Landmark to Art of Charm to Jocko Willink to Joe Rogan to David Goggins we're all on the same plane here. So when I look around and see the most basic rules in progress get skipped over, I have to question what the progress is. Are we trying to make progress? If you're unwilling to take responsibility, then I can't take it seriously. Vaughn says Goggins the Beast. How about this, Vaughn Swab? Have you seen our interview with David? His book had not even come out yet. He's still a hero, but it was certainly a hero of mine at the time. And I was so nervous that I spent a few days just trying to think of what my first words were going to be to David. And I'll tell you, here's what I came up with, and here's what I said. I told David, I said, David, in every man's life, there are people, there are words, there are sights and sounds that once you hear them, they change your perception of how you engage in the world for the rest of your life. It's even a rare occasion that you get to meet the person who's changed that perspective. And I said, I looked David in the eyes. I said, David, so for that, I want to thank you. And he stood up and he shook my hand. And to me, that was all I wanted to say to David. I could have ended the interview after that and been incredibly happy. But yes, David is amazing. So Phantom Alpha says, I agree with you from a recovering addict perspective. When you ignore the problem, they just snowball, get bigger and bigger, and becomes overwhelming, but you got to chip away at them one by one. Absolutely. And as somebody who's understood and has dealt with recovery, you taking responsibility is where it starts. That is why in recovery, if you're in AA, the first thing they want you to do is to admit to your problem. Hi, I'm so-and-so, and I'm an alcoholic or I'm an addict. That is the ground one. And so when I see a lot of the insanity that is going on around me, and it's all over, we're all dealing with it. We're all being agenda pushed from every side and gaslit in order to make narratives and agendas and ideas fit easily. I'm like, okay, well, who's taking responsibility? Okay, who is looking at these issues methodically? Because here's the thing about responsibility. It's a bitch. But it is what makes you a man. It is what makes you somebody who's willing to create change and make things for the better, or at least take a problem seriously to begin working on it. Is that, I believe I have a Philip Swisher in the room, and if that is the Philip Swisher, I believe it is. Well, hello, my friend. I hope you are doing well. It is good to see you. So with all of that, we're not going to be able to, I can't take anyone seriously who is unwilling to accept responsibility. So keep passing the buck, Ted, and I'm going to keep laughing at the scenario. Vaughn Swab says, man, Lucky, I've always wanted to meet Goggins. Well, I will tell you, he is as intimidating as you can imagine. I was incredibly intimidated, but I will also tell you this. I wanted to hang out with him for the rest of the day. Why? I just wanted to hang out. I just wanted to hear his thoughts. I wanted to bullshit with him. I wanted to talk about running. You know, what was funny, we didn't get much into that on the show, on our interview, but we had a discussion about it afterwards, and he lit up like a child. His eyes got all big, and his demeanor had changed. So with that, I will get off the case of Ted, but I've been laughing about that, and so I wanted to share that with you guys. Now, the other thing that I mentioned yesterday, which is in the FEAR acronym of fusion, expectations, avoidance, and remoteness. One of the first component of that fusion, having your thoughts fused with your emotions, to make it difficult to understand your thoughts clearly and to work through them, is to practice mindfulness. And I brought this up yesterday because a lot of people who find it difficult to get started on things are usually stuck on one of those four hesitations. Your thoughts are fused with emotions, and the emotions are fraught, and they make you feel full of anxiety to where you're not going to start. the expectations that you put on yourself are so large that it is going to be difficult for you to get started, because no matter how you go about the project, the expectations cannot be met. A is going to be avoidance, which is in order for you to get started, you're going to have to walk into the unknown. And because the unknown brings on such feelings as anxiety and the rest that fear comes on, then you're going to want to avoid the getting started altogether. And lastly, remoteness. Being removed or finding yourself far from the core values that allow you to feel good about winning the day. And one of the things that I missed yesterday, and I wanted to clear up today, was fusion. Because fusion is it's a phenomenon that we've all dealt with. But in today's world, with the technology that we have, we don't find time to diffuse our thoughts from our emotions. This is a task that the new technology doesn't afford us, because we don't find time where we're just thinking anymore. We're constantly being fed information through technology that we're trying to understand, to work through, to absorb, to contemplate. I use this example on the show all the time, which is that 30 years ago, you would go to the bank and then you would get in line and you would stand there and you'd have to deal with yourself. You'd have to deal with the thoughts that you were having. You'd have to deal with what will you be having for dinner. You'll have to deal with what bills need to be paid. You have to deal with how you're feeling and what's going on in your life. You'd have a moment to think about what's going on, to take inventory, to do an assessment. Now, if you're even going to the bank, is you'll get in line and you'll pull out your phone and you'll stare at it, and you'll start swiping, and you'll be consuming more information. You cannot do an assessment of who you are, what's going on in your life, and how you feel, and why you feel that way if you're constantly consuming information. And of course, the information that you're consuming needs to be consumed with a detachment, because you have to be concerned about the messages that are being pushed out. It is an engagement that needs to be done with skepticism. So you're constantly working your brain, and if you're not looking at this information skeptically, well, then you've already been bought and sold into the program. So, Phantom Alpha says Trump is not the mayor of Portland or the governor, so how does he say this is Trump's America? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's passing the buck, my friend. I can blame anything on anybody. In fact, I can blame my whole life on Keith Richards smoking a cigarette behind me, or I can blame everything on Animal sitting on my Marshall head. Should watch David Blaine, Ascension. That was dope. Okay, are you telling me I should watch that, Robro? I agree. A lot of people need to dive into a deep self-reality check. Well, yes, Fire Captain. Here's the deal. We don't spend time being mindful anymore. We have to make time. So I have incorporated into my days meditation practices. Why? Because I realized that I have to carve out time in the day to be reflective on my thoughts and feelings to see what's valid and what isn't. And when I'm being emotionally manipulated, or when there is a realization or a reason that is rational to feel that way. I mean, if you don't spend time being reflective, looking at these thoughts and feelings objectively, then you're being bought and sold. You know, what people don't understand about the makeup of being a human being is where we're faulty, where the weak points of our species, of being a human being. You don't think after all this time, psychology and philosophy and biology has not been adopted by the main forces in society to be able to control its population? And I'll give you another one. We've already done it in so many other countries. Why wouldn't other countries want to do that to us? And here's one better. Why would America allow somebody else to have control over its population? I mean, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be us. That's just how it is. Let's just be honest with what's going on. You know, and this is why I enjoy coming on every morning to talk to you guys, because I got to be objective and reflective and mindful and have to go over the stuff in my own brain. And a lot of times the thoughts, what I come up with needs to be put linearly so I can look at it objectively myself. And to be able to discuss it, to write it down, to see it on my war board, to put it in the title of the video I'm going to shoot in the morning and discuss it with you guys only allows me to sharpen these ideas for myself. And the possibility of me sticking my foot in my mouth every morning makes this challenging, and it makes me better. And don't think that I haven't done it, and don't think I'm not going to risk it. I mean well, but I am constantly putting myself in a position to want to be better, to want to speak better, to want to think more clearly. And if you don't put yourself in a position to where you need to, it's not going to happen. So that's where I'm at with things. So Fire Captain 202 over in Periscope says, you were spot on, my friend. Well, thank you, Fire Captain, and hats off to you. It seems from your profile picture, it looks like you are a fire captain. So right on, hats off to you, and stay safe out there, my friend. Eric says, I love how you get passionate about these subjects. Well, here's the deal. Why wouldn't we get passionate about these subjects? Because we're talking about the coolest subjects in the world. First of all, this is history, my friends, and we're living it, and we're dealing with it on a daily basis, which makes this period in time so interesting. However, I'm also trying to not allow it and the stimuli that is and forces that are all involved to drive me crazy, with the hopes that you guys will join me in the morning so we can work through these, so we can all question the forces to be, to make sure that we have a good understanding. But I will leave you guys with this. I want to thank you all for joining today. I had a wonderful time. Thank you guys. If you are in YouTube or Periscope land, make sure you hit the like button, share a video, hit subscribe, notification bell. Any little thing that you do to show engagement on the videos, on the archives, allows the algorithm to show it to more people. And why wouldn't you want more people to see this show? We're gonna get better through this. Wow. Fire Captain says, thank you. I'm retired now. But yes, I was a career firefighter. Well, thank you very much for your service, my friend. That is one scary job. But thank you. And thank you for joining. I got to go, guys. I got a million things to do today. So I will see you all tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. PST. If you also have topics or comments or questions, you can always write me. I answer everybody on our social media. I'm the one over at Twitter. I'm the one you're dealing with on Insta. Also, if you enjoyed what I had to speak about today, check out the Art of Charm Communication Accelerator. It has all of our best bits from our online programs, live training programs, and expert guests over the last 15 years to help you accomplish everything that you want and rise to the next level in business, love, and life. I will see you guys. I will follow your YouTube and your videos. Well, thank you, Fire Captain. You are rad. I will see you guys tomorrow. Cheers.